the other members, Dr. Hawa Abdi and her foundation, and Ilwa the Ilman from the Ilman Peace and Human Rights Center. So we're going to, this is the Q&A part. We've got about 45 minutes. We're going to take questions in batches, and please be brief. Ask your question directly so we can benefit from Edna Adan's wisdom. And if you have any questions for Sarah, anything to do with the film and the process, I mean, that certainly would be welcome as well. So I'll move it on to Dr. Edna Adan.
Thank you all very much. It really is a great honor for me to come back to the country where I studied and where I grew up. And thank the British taxpayers for having given me that opportunity to study way, way back. Anybody was around here in 1954? No, maybe one or two. All right. Well, in 1954, I studied, participated in an examination. God, I forgot my English. And was lucky enough to have been awarded a scholarship. It was a Colonial Welfare and Development Scholarship, which brought me to London. And from there, I went on to do my nursing and my midwifery. At that time, I was the only Somali girl in London. Can you believe that? Today, every time I ride a bus, I see a Somali person, I see kids, I see women, men, and but what I'm trying to, the message I would like to leave with you is that we have been given an opportunity. A few of us have had an opportunity to be alive, to have an education, and to train in various professions. And that's good. But what do we do with that? We need to think about those we left behind. I had a great career with the United Nations. The whole world was my oyster. I could travel anywhere. I did a lot of traveling. I had opportunities that very few women had. But when my country needed me, there was no choice other than to go home and do whatever I could. And it was the best decision that I have ever taken in my life. I know there are a few trinkets I miss, but then so what? What I get out of it is so much more rewarding than the material things and the comforts that I left behind. And when I have my little oyster in my pocket and I ride a bus, it's raining and my umbrella is being blown away by the wind, and I see a nice warm heated car, central heated, a nice beautiful Mercedes, I say, oh my God, I used to have one of those. And then my bus comes and I forget about it, because my Mercedes today and all the other things that I recycled are helping lives. They're helping me to train people. They're helping me to train nurses. They're helping me to give life and hope to a great community. And it has also helped me to become that small fish that attracts bigger fish. So many of you are coming home now. I mean, I've seen you do your PhD. People like volunteers, like my colleague there, who comes once or twice a year to help in the hospital, to look after the sick. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, who are coming home and doing whatever they can. My main concern now is education. Because without education, we cannot move forward. Without a foundation, this beautiful theater could not have been built. And education is the foundation. Discipline is the foundation. Dedication and determination are what are required. So, if any of you are having doubts about what should I do with my education? Should I really be wasting my time to go to university? Going to university is not wasting your time. It is helping me, it is helping you to become somebody and to acquire academic skills and knowledge that will help you and help those around you. So don't think about, will I find a job? Find the job. Make it your target, that you will achieve something, that you will be the best at it, and you will be able to use that skill and that knowledge wherever it's needed. Now, I'm not going to draw you to any particular part of the world, because there's a big wide world out there. There are many countries that need you. The entire Horn of Africa needs you. And if at any given time in my hospital, a quarter of the patients we treat are from other countries. They're from Ethiopia, they're from Djibouti, they're from Somalia, they're from anywhere. A sick person is a sick person. We don't worry about what they have in their pockets. We don't want to know what kind of passports they have. We don't want to know if they have a visa. Once they're sick, they're in a hospital, and it is our duty and our responsibility to give that person who has sought our help the best care that we can. Students. Now, if I could be given an opportunity to study in the United States, to study in the United Kingdom, why would I deny another Somali girl, regardless of, or boy, wherever they come from, to enter my college or the university and to study? The only condition I set is that they respect the rules of the institution, they abide by the rules and regulations, they get the grades to keep them there, and that's it. These were the conditions I had to respect, and I expect them to respect the same. Because otherwise, we would not be able to maintain the quality of our teaching and learning institutions. So I'm not going to bore you much longer, but I would like to answer the questions that you may have. So I'll throw it back to you. If there's anything you would like me to elaborate upon further, I would be very happy to do so. If you ask a question that I do not have an answer for, I'll say, well, I don't have the answer for that, but let's find out together. Because even at 76, there's so much more I need to learn. So I'll pass the microphone back to our moderator and wait for you to direct me towards what you would like to hear us explain. And thank you all very much.
So we'll take questions, yeah? The gentleman there.
First of all, I don't believe you're 76.
My niece does.
And I just want to comment that, as obviously a non-Muslim, to see an example of a place that is held up in the world as a hotbed of sort of the kind of negative stereotypes that one is trying to avoid, the example you're setting to show the world that there's a different way, a democratic Islamic way is so wonderful. It's exactly the kind of thing we need in this world. And that's not a question.
My niece do not believe they're 76. They think they're 99. But I don't listen to them.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yep, young woman at the back.
We're going to try and get the mic to you, so just hang on a second.
Do you want to stand up?
Oh,
Do you want to
gentleman,
stand
yeah.
up? That young gentleman there.
In the middle, yeah.
Stand up so I can see you. Handsome too.
We're going to get the mic to you.
There's a microphone coming back.
How long have you been working?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been working for?
All my life.
There was a young woman in the yellow hijab, yeah?
Hi. My question was, I'm a teacher and I teach a few Somali kids, and one of the things that I find really difficult is to sort of inspire them, and also not inspire them, but necessarily sort of make them think about Somalia, make them have that connection with their homeland. But a lot of the times when they're in London, they don't think about the home as Somalia. They don't think about sort of role models, etc., as being Somali necessarily. So I was wondering, any advice sort of as a teacher that perhaps I can pass on to the kids, anything I could say to them even, to sort of hopefully make them think about Somali even.
That's a very good question, because I think these young children and these people left Somalia or Somaliland at a time when there was a war. They probably have that memory of explosions, of destruction. They see things in the media, they hear about pirates and terrorism and all kinds of negative things. People and the media do not report things that are not sensational. Everybody's seen Black Hawk Down, everybody's seen Captain Phillips, but nobody's heard about, or very few have heard about the good things that are happening. And they may be British, Canadian, or Norwegian today, what I usually ask them to do is try to find out where your parents came from. Go home for a holiday. See where your parents were married. Or maybe the place where you were born before you were brought here. Find out where your grandparents come from, your uncles, your cousins, your neighbors, the village that your family belongs to. And get to know it. And get to know the family around you, because you have a large family of relatives who did not come with you and who are left behind in the country. Don't think about, oh, I cannot build a hospital, it's too much. Oh, I cannot build a school. We don't all have to build hospitals. I wish we would. We cannot all build schools. But see what you can do. Maybe pay for the education of one of your relatives, or the son or daughter of one of your friends or your cousins. And $10 a month, which is about what, £5-6 a month? Have one less hamburger. Spend that money to pay for the education of a friend or a relative. That keeps that umbilical cord still attached to your community. And be proud of who you are. Be proud of who we are. We have a very beautiful and long history. Do you know that we have a history of 8,000 or 9,000 years? Do you know when the pharaohs were there? Where did they get their frankincense and myrrh from? From our shores, from our hills, from our mountains. The Red Sea was a passage of civilization. People who were going out to discover Asia and the Far East were coming through the Red Sea and maybe stopping in our ports on their way to the Far East or on their way back. So the history of the Somali people is the history of over 20 million people, including those who are here. It's a rich history. And if what you hear about the Somali people is negative or bad today, well, make it your point to change that. Show the world the good things that the Somalis do. Show the people the positive sides. One of the things that really makes me so happy that I took that decision to go home and start the school is when I see my hospital has grown to the size where today we are a referral hospital. Patients come to us, they fly from Djibouti to Somaliland, to Hargeisa, to be treated in my hospital, which is built on a garbage dump, on a once killing ground. It's a referral hospital where we do surgery day and night. In fact, we're preparing next month to have Dr. Laura Romanzi and her team come over and do fistula repair. We haven't even announced the visit yet. And they were telling me they have over 40 patients registered on the waiting list. And we will treat them all, we will operate them all, we will fix them as best as we can. And at the end of that camp, we will have 30, 40, 50 women who will be able to sit among us without worrying about whether they're leaking or not, and who would have been given a new lease in life. Now that hospital has trained thousands of students, short courses, long courses, and has also inspired me to open a university. You know, one madness was not enough. Now I have two madnesses. I have a hospital and I have a university. And do you know who heads the university? A woman. Medicine University. For both boys and girls. Because one of the questions is, why, if you own this hospital and the president of it is a woman, is it going to be a university for girls only? I said no, because I would be defeating my entire purpose if I limited my university only for access for girls. Boys and girls need to study side by side, and they need to compete together and with each other. Because we live in a world. God created man and woman. Why should I only concentrate on just one? Either the man or the woman. Any woman, any girl, any man who gains entrance to my university is there because they have a pen in their hand, they have the knowledge in their brain to open that door for them, period. Your pen is what keeps you with me. I hope I've answered your question.
Thanks for that. We're going to try and group the questions together, so just try and get them ready for me. There's a young woman at the back. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, when you actually started, my voice is quite loud. When you actually started the hospital and set it up, and you said you don't discriminate. Anyone who needs treatment is welcome to come for treatment. Did you get any hostility from the local community? Did people not want to be treated next to someone from Somalia, from Somaliland, from this or that? Was there any hostility, or was it relatively peaceful?
Okay, and then we've got a couple in this area.
It's not their choice, it's my decision.
We're going to group this young woman here, and the gentleman behind you, and then lastly the young woman at the back. So the one with the green hijab, the young woman.
I wanna, do I have to stand up? First of all, I want to congratulate you on all your achievements, yourself and Dr. Hauer and young Ilwad. As someone who, I've got beautiful memories of back home, I've also got frightening memories of back home. I was there in '88 in Hargeisa when the war first broke out, and it was so much horror. I don't remember what I did last week, but I remember what happened when I was a young child and all the guns and everything. I'm very proud that this year, for the first time in years, I'm going to be taking my children and myself back home to Hargeisa. So I'm looking forward to it. At the same time, I'm so frightened about the culture and the culture shock, because I know they're going to be looking at me thinking, oh, she's from overseas, and I'm a bit worried about it. I've got a couple of questions, I hope you don't mind. One of the questions is, how do I get my children and other people that I know, it's been asked a bit before, I think, but it's an inspiration, you're an inspiration to Somali women all over, but I know a lot of young people who are educated and yet they're frightened to go back home. But I know these young people are so much into the social network. So do you use social network? Does your organization or university use it? Because I think that is one way that you can target young educated Somalis, and that is one way to pull them back into the country. Because I'm actually thinking, even though I haven't seen, to move back home for a few years. So how would you attract people back home?
Okay,
and the second question.
Very quickly.
Okay, sorry. And the second question is, I hope do you do scholarships, or is there sort of, do you help out children that won't be able to, or young people that will not be able to go to the university or pay the full fees?
Okay, and then there is a gentleman behind you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's Majid Nawaz. Just want to commend you on the film and actually ask a question. It touched me because it reminded me, I'm of Pakistani origin, it reminded me of some of the troubles that we had there with sort of militia. Well, no, I won't need to elaborate any further about that. But I think what this film demonstrates is another way, and it's instrumental in both encouraging people to go and do the sort of good work you're involved in, but also dispelling a lot of myths. So the question is, I think, having seen this, do you have a distribution plan? Are you planning to show it in other cities? Are you planning to show it in theatres? And will those showings be in London, or maybe where Somali communities are based? How do you reach a wider audience? Because I think this really needs to be shared to dispel many of the myths that are around sort of about war-torn countries and the good that actually can be done in those countries.
Great, thank you. And then last question is the young woman.
Hi there. Can I just firstly say that was an amazing film, and you, Edna, you're a complete inspiration to me, and thank you for everything that you're doing for our people, and just know that you're inspiring so many people out there. There was certain things that were touched upon in the film itself that did affect me, and listening to a few people as well. We know that there are so many people who are going back home and doing such amazing things, but I feel like Somalia and Somaliland will always have, there will always be problems until some type of political solution is found, so it can enhance the work that you're doing, other people are doing, and the emphasis on Somalia and Somaliland, I feel as though the Somali nest has somewhat been lost. We are all Somali first and foremost, and I feel as though the constant emphasis on whether you're from southern Somalia or you're from northern Somalia, somewhat it taints somewhat the work and some of the effort that's been put into it, and it hurts me because it reminds me that the tribalism and the communalism is still there, because it should be irrelevant where anything's been done. It should just be focused on the fact that it's Somali people helping Somali people. What can we do in that regard? What can we do to sort of get this idea and this mindset out of us to constantly refer to regions, and because it's just another way, I believe, of that sense of tribalism still being there. What can we do to fully eradicate tribalism from the mindset of our people so that we can unite and continue to do the things that they are doing? Because I feel like even non-Somali people are somewhat being engrossed into the whole tribalism that's affecting Somali people and their mindset. What can we do, with your experience, what can we do to finally move on from this?
Okay, so thank you. Your question and the young woman's question earlier were quite related about
the people you treat.
Yeah, well, the hospital doesn't have a policy to treat any particular people, color, race, affiliation to anything. What decides what we do for that person is that condition. Are we qualified to address that particular health problem? That's it. And nobody has ever been denied treatment because they come from somewhere else or they look different. We've delivered Brits, we've delivered Germans, we've delivered Austrians, we've delivered Filipinos, we deliver people who do not even look like us. So why would anybody deny treatment or delivering a woman just because she comes from a region which is not the region where the hospital is situated? To answer, that question and this one together, well, the Somaliness is there. We're all Somalis. There's 22 million of us. It's a geographical location, which was determined by the British, since we're in Great Britain, and a part of it was British Somaliland Protectorate, the geographical location. And you may say that the Danes and the Swedes and the Norwegians are all from the Slavic or whatever background, but if you're going to Copenhagen, you don't buy a ticket to go to Stockholm. That's all it means. And if you have an allegiance or an affiliation or background or relatives to any particular place, well, maybe that's where you should go and re-link with your family or your extended family. That's all it means. How do you bring it together? Well, my responsibility is to train students who enter and pass the entrance exam. And we have those who are from Somalia and who are studying in my school, who are not asked for a passport. They pass an entrance exam, and that's where they are. The patients who we treat, a quarter of the patients in my hospital are from Somalia. They're there because we are treating them, period. So for us, Somaliland is a geographical location. Somalia is a geographical location. Djibouti is a geographical location. That's it. It's a destination, it's a place, it's a territory that has boundaries, and that's all it means. What are we doing about it? Exactly what we're doing. Welcoming anybody who needs us, welcoming anybody who we can help. That's what you are required to do. How the social networks? Thank you so much. Well, I think this lady would be better qualified to answer that. She's from the diaspora. She came to Somaliland. I don't think she encountered any problems. So in the summer, there are 22 to 25 flights a day who bring Somalis back for their holidays. So if 23 plane loads come in, it means that the country is stable and safe enough. Nobody has ever pointed, well, if you're walking in the street, in Hargeisa, how am I going to know where you come from? Because you dress exactly like everybody dresses. You look exactly like anybody looks like. Maybe if you dress even like people who dress like me, don't get pointed out. So you're not different. You don't have blue eyes. You don't have blonde hair. So what are you worried about? Now we have a problem. Sometimes in the summer we have a ward full of little kids, because when they come out there for the first time, you know, they've been living in a very sterile environment. Here, they go there, they pick up food and stuff, and they develop diarrhea. And I'll have a ward. One child will be speaking Norwegian, another child will be speaking Dutch, another child will be speaking English, and the mothers will be the only ones with whom we can communicate. And the kids cannot even communicate with each other because they come from different places. So after a while, if we see that those kids again a month later, they're all speaking, "Wariya Mohammed, Wariya Ali, Sawara." So they pick up the language. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem, never has been, and never will be. Frida, 5 o'clock in the morning. Frida, would you mind standing up, please? Because I really need to recognize your contribution. Frida is a nurse, is a midwife who comes once or twice a year to my country, Somaliland, and comes and stays with me in my house. And 5 o'clock in the morning, she goes with a backpack, and she walks to the government hospital to treat patients. And she takes her, dressings and her medicines. And I said, "Frida, let me give you a lift." She said, No, I like the morning sun. She goes out there, she treats patients and walks back. Nobody does anything. I mean, she doesn't look Somali. And a woman at 5 o'clock in the morning with a backpack who's walking to the hospital, or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the sun walking back from the hospital with the dirty equipment she used in the wards, walking back again. Has anybody ever bothered you?
No, I can only say I feel very, very safe. I have never ever had any. I love to walk through the sun. I love to see the sunrise, and I love to meet the cameras in the middle of the road. I really love it. It's so beautiful. It's so great. And I love to go to the hospital. I mean, the patients are lovely. I'm always welcome. I never ever had experienced anything which I said, "Oh no, I couldn't do that." I look forward to go again. Every year I love to go back.
How many times have you been? How many times?
5 times.
There you are. We love you. I think it's a very short time. But the scholarship, yes. Do we have scholarship? On merit. Now, every semester we have exams. The courses that you've had in that semester. And the top student in those exams, I give a free place to. The student who has in second place gets 50% discount, and the third person gets 25% discount. So any semester you would have different people. You may have the same person getting it all the time, but very often they change because it makes the students more competitive. Beyond that, I cannot, because I have to pay salaries to teachers, and I have to subsidize, in fact, the university. It's running at a loss. The only way I could make ends meet in the hospital would be to close the training department, and I would break even. But then I would be defeating my entire purpose. I want the education to continue, the training to continue, the discipline to continue, the ethics to continue, the professionalism to continue. And for as long as I'm alive, I have a big fat UN pension, I can deal with it. But the day I'll be gone, it'll be you guys to make sure that the training department doesn't shut down. And that is why we have a foundation in the United States that has been very supportive of us. They send us supplies, they send us equipment, and we're also setting up a foundation here in the United Kingdom. So I'm preparing myself for the way out. If God sends me to other function elsewhere, you guys are going to be here to make sure you carry that torch forward. One last thing.
About distribution.
The distribution, can you remind me again? I'm old, I forget.
The film distribution.
The film distribution, I think this is up to Sarah and her.
Well, first of all, thank you ever so much for that very encouraging feedback. This project really was a labour of love, more than any other. And I might be the face of it, but actually today, but there are dozens of other people across the world who contributed in various ways. And it was very much about, from the start, about changing the script, trying to show a different side of the one that we're accustomed to hearing through mainstream media, or that very rarely reaches us through the media. And myself and my colleagues have been immensely inspired by our experience in Somalia and Somaliland. It really was a life-changing experience. And for that reason, we are really on a mission to try to spread this film as far and wide as we can. So if you can help us with that, please let me know. Just go to the website, throughthefire.tv, and you'll see all the contact details there. Just drop me a line. And if you want to host a screening in your community, or if you have, somewhere else in another part of the world where somebody might be interested in screening, just let us know, because that's our whole rationale. We're coming to the end of this series of UK screenings, but the film will shortly be crossing the Atlantic, starting at the Library of Congress, Washington, DC. It's then moving all the way across, Toronto twice, Chicago, Ottawa, Seattle, Atlanta twice. It's screening all over the US. It's also going to be in Australia at the Sydney Opera House. It's also going to be in the US, in Europe, in Scandinavia. The focus is very much on the Somali community, but we're also getting a lot of requests from other communities and NGOs, and that's wonderful. That's the whole purpose behind the project, just to share the inspiration that we've experienced, that we've had in working with these wonderful women. And yeah, I just hope that you also take away that inspiration too.